I think we could have a real good time if you just take a break and breathe.
I've always been interested in horror and darker subjects within media. I even hosted 2 panels at MomoCon 2023 with That Creepy Reading, Victor, and the Chris Lotus. One was over animation, the other about video games. The latter will focus on this video. Well, besides the fact that video games also have animation, but you get what I mean. You get what I mean. Right? When it comes to horror as a genre, when you dive into the story, there's a lot more to it than the people behind it intended for. You know, more than the jump scare scary, I wet my pants type of games. For the opposite, I point to experiences like Amanda the Adventurer. What started from a simple and quickly made idea, sprouted something more. After being weighed down from seeing games like Ban Ban and Poppy's Playtime, you know, the genre of horror where it's like, ooh, the kids' location's actually scary. It really deterred me from the genre, or at least from the indie perspective. However, after playing Amanda the Adventurer, I grew to appreciate horror more than ever. So join jakeneutron and I in Adventure of a Lifetime, or Afterlife Lifetime, I guess. We'll explore the themes, gameplay, and especially the game devs behind it. Oh, also, do you notice this tablet? This XP Pen tablet? Don't worry, we'll talk about it later in the video. Skip to this part if you want to see the tablet contest. Amanda originally started as part of a found footage game jam hosted by DreadXP. You might have played their collections on Steam where they publish micro games surrounding a similar theme. For this one, it lasted between April 1st and April 8th, 2022, meaning you had a literal week to come up with an idea, finish it, and publish it. A week.
The rules are simple. Make a found footage horror game. It can have a VHS aesthetic, DVD aesthetic, so on and so forth.
Among the troll submissions, there was Amanda the Adventurer, pilot episode. James Pratt, Reese Lemon, Michael Accardi, Patrick Flattery, and Chelsea LeCompte brought this 5-minute game to life.
We were convinced maybe like 3 people would play it. Shortly after that, 3 became 100, which became 1,000, which at the time of writing this is now 920,000.
Despite the game being immensely short, it was fodder for streamers and theorists alike. A few months after the game released, MatPat even made a mainline video about the demo, and the gameplay was simple. You put tapes in, watch a full motion video, and type some words sometimes. Then you die. With many people enjoying the mechanics and theming, DreadXP wanted more from this team. Though interesting enough, the game actually got 2nd place in the game jam.
We're thrilled to add Amanda the Adventurer to our family of remarkable indie horror titles. One of our goals is to help support and showcase smaller developers, using our resources to give their titles the attention they deserve.
The full version, or I guess rebooted version, of Amanda the Adventurer would release a year later, that being April 25th, 2023. James is quoted as saying, "The game jam we did was hosted by DreadXP. We finished in about a week, and while we didn't win first in the jam, we were getting a ton of traction. I remember when Jacksepticeye and Markiplier played it. About a month or so later, Jans and Ted reached out to me and asked if we can have a chat over Discord. Me and the 3 other members of the team chatted with them, and they were interested in having us make a full version of the game. I was in between jobs at the time, and feeling pretty down about games as a whole, so it was a dream come true. We went into negotiations for a few months, and eventually signed the deal with them. The official announcements would be sent on their itch.io page October 28th, 2022. Between this time, the dev team mangled mod games to release updates to the original demo, improving the gameplay and giving new tapes to the story. Paired with the webpage itself, it gave the game some very light ARG elements. You can see the words horror and let me out crossed out, letting the viewer know they're in for a wild ride. A ride not suited for children under 10 years old. If you're under 10, you probably shouldn't be using the internet in the first place. Go watch Snoop Dogg's Doggyland, lil baby. Amanda the Adventures for adults. Before the full game was released, the team had to deal with a lot of fake ports and copycats, as some people released the game on iOS and Android, despite the fact the team only made it for, well, PC. Also, some of the bootleg versions have in-game purchases, despite the fact the original game was free for anyone. We'll dive into the behind the scenes of this game a bit more later on, but what is a horror game YouTube video if not for conspiracies and theories over the lore and story, better known as fanfiction to most people? And I'll let Jake take care of the section.
Many things that made Amanda the Adventurer stand out carry over from the original to the final. Still parroting the way shows like Dora and Blue's Clues would interact with their audiences, Amanda asks the player to help her find something, but gets frustrated when the player keeps getting the answers wrong, even forcing the answer by typing for them. But the final expands on many of these ideas, or straight up replaces them. It's clear there was quite a story overhaul behind the scenes when they moved to producing a larger experience. I'm probably gonna start talking about spoilers soon, so if you haven't played the game, go do that now! Or skip to the XP Pen section of the video. You've been warned. The initial jam story is short and simple, focusing on Amanda as the only antagonist and Wooly as your companion. There are lots of implications of an explicit murder, and the tapes attempting to point you to where the body is buried, while also seeming to be the source of some other murders, implied by Amanda monster death screen. There are even some environmental clues alluding to strange details like Amanda and Wooly possibly being siblings, referring to this picture on the wall with the girl having Amanda's shirt color and the other person having colors similar to Wooly. But in the final game, they give tons more detail to the vague story that changes a lot about what's implied. Instead of this taking place in some semi-barren room with blood on the walls, the final game takes place in a cluttered attic of your late aunt. Instead of tapes seeming to appear after the completed viewing of another tape, for for no specific reason. They sometimes appear after the solving of, admittedly, pretty interesting puzzles that are for still no specific reason. It's a horror game, chalk it up to ghosts or something. Hell, even in the full game, that sibling angle is pretty much left out entirely. Instead of Amanda trying to convince you to let her into your home, there's a bigger focus on her trying to allude to her being trapped. Though the monster stays consistent in all versions as a consequence for, well, watching the tapes. The most impactful change is how there seemingly isn't one clear-cut murder, but an entire conspiracy covering up disappearances, which also branches the story into having multiple potential antagonists. It's no longer cut and dry as to if Amanda is the real antagonist, when now there's something more large and mysterious to consider placing blame on. Wooly's innocence is even in question, with vague messages like, "Who is Wooly?" and him having similar pull on how tapes can play out, having even used these abilities to, as it seems, gaslight Amanda. Some of these changes are so significant, it's hard to really consider the Game Jam story still entirely canon, though I do know that they are referred to as the pilot tapes. While the original game most likely left things open-ended because of the quick turnaround, the full game is interesting for utilizing not giving you clear and obvious answers to these questions as part of the experience. While there is a lot of detail, they want you to think about it and fill in the blanks yourself, letting the unease of not really knowing all the answers unsettle you. With often the deeper you dig, the more questions you'll come up with. I personally find the addition of Hamlin Entertainment to be the angle that really makes this story special. A lot of people have already pointed out that the name is a reference to the Pied Piper of Hamelin's story, a tale of a guy who lured away rats with a magical pipe, who later takes revenge on the town that didn't appreciate him by instead luring away their children to never be seen again. Kinda messed up. This obviously brings attention to the nature of the company being predatory and connecting them to these child disappearances. But another significant thing to point out is, this is a toy and media company, more obviously a parody of companies like Hasbro. Both names even start with a ha sound. Wow. Hamlin is everywhere in this game. All the toys in the attic are produced by Hamlin, the titular show is owned by Hamlin, the secret tapes even feature a direct statement from them that recontextualizes a lot about the story and the world. I don't believe Hasbro is the only company giving inspiration, especially considering the themes. Hamlin's actions in this story paint a very clear picture on what the game is talking about. Let's remember, the show wasn't something Hamlin created from scratch. It was something Sam Colton made for a local broadcast, inspired by his adoptive daughter, Rebecca's curiosity and kindness. It wasn't even a cartoon then, it was a live-action series. Kind of wonder how that worked. That Hamlin later bought the rights to and rebooted to be an animated TV show for a broader audience. And of course, they can't just be a normal exploitative company. No. After coercing Sam into this deal, they trick his daughter into saying demonic chants, make him go missing after he speaks up and changes his mind, so they can get his daughter to sign things without him present. Publicly, they even feign ignorance and villainize him for disappearing, while covertly withdrawing Rebecca from the public eye while they escort her into a room we have no idea she's ever left from again. This is a story about child exploitation. That's only a fraction of the story. While there are hints everywhere that can give you clues on the why and how of things, genuinely the next time you play the game or watch someone play, pay close attention to whatever you can. The way the static reacts to Amanda's emotions. There's a ton of detail on the character acting that clue you in on what things they are saying that should stand out. There's even some details in the general basement environment that are saying more than text alone could do. This is a detailed game. But there's still so much we don't know. We don't know what happened to Sam, or those missing kids, or Rebecca. We don't know why Hamlin is doing these things. We don't know who Wooly is and why he's here. We don't know how these tapes work. As much as we know, we don't know anything. Sure hope there's like DLC or something in the works. I don't care, I just want more Amanda, however long it takes to make. Speaking of, I think the segment coming up is about behind the scenes of the rebooted game. What's the segment in the middle of that?
The XP pen feature.
Oh, you're doing a thing with them too? Shoo, okay, go on ahead, let's hear it.
I'm excited to show you not only XP Pen's brand new product, but a world's first in tablets. Just don't look at it yet. For the longest time, people had to deal with pressure levels of 4096, or more recently, 8192. Basically, the more levels there are, the better control you have. With an increased number, you have more precise mastery within your artworks. Similar to how a paintbrush presses on the canvas, the more advanced the system, the increased realism there is from handy computer. That's why I'm excited to show you the Deco Pro Gen 2 series of non-screen tablets. But why is that? Well, this big beauty has 16,000 pressure levels. First, I didn't really believe it, because like, that's a big number. Yeah, that's a big number. But honestly, working on the tablet, it's very hard to go back to anything else. Using it, I was so amazed about how light the touch was and how little I had to press on the actual device for it to sense what I was doing. Also, the tablet comes with a metal pen case that once you press it, it unlocks. It comes with a bunch of nibs that are easily stored, a USB receiver, which we'll get into soon, and also the case provides a stylish way to place your pen down. The tablet itself comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable and a USB-C to USB-A cable, but also it has Bluetooth 5.0 functionality for Extra portability. You can also connect 2 devices simultaneously, switching between easily by sliding 1 key. With a 3030 mAh battery, you can get around 10 hours of drawing time any way you'd like, and this tablet pairs well with Windows, Mac OS, Android, Chrome OS, and Linux. So literally any major operating system, it can work with many people from around the world no matter the device. Nice. And I even made these wonderful graphics using the tablet. They're great additions to my videos. The tablet also comes with the X remote control. Basically it's a Bluetooth 5.0 dial and button controller. Using the XP Pen tablet software, you can program these buttons for anything and use it to your heart's content. I often like changing the brush size or canvas size of the dial, and definitely Control Z as a go-to for art. Believe me, that's something you'll love. But luckily, you can also buy the remote separately for any tablets you already have at home. You can use the controller with Bluetooth, the dongle, or USB-C to USB-A cable. If you're using a MacBook like I sometimes do, you can always get the XP Pen ACW01 3-in-1 adapter. The ports include a USB-C power, HDMI, and USB-A functionality, which means you can plug in the tablet, remote, and still have power for your computer. Nice. Lastly, I can't recommend enough the XP Pen desk pads. These mouse pads are made from PVC leather, and they come in double-sided colors. Not only does this give your tablet's keyboard and mouse extra room to roam around, but can really brighten up your workspace. I have used one of those gamer mats before, and oh my gosh, let me tell you, having the XP Pen one looks way better, way easier to clean, oh my god. All in all, XP Pen is a fantastic company to purchase tablet products from, everything from the next canvas you'll draw on, to even the accessories to further pursue your artistic future. You can check the links in the description, or you can go to xp-pen.com to check out their other wonderful products. And if you want to win this tablet, you must listen to these rules. First, follow XP Pen CA and Daftpina on Twitter. Next, draw fan art of Amanda and Wooly, and use the hashtag Daftpina XP Pen while submitting your fan art, and the winner will be announced next month. Happy drawing! As interesting as the theories are for horror games, well, let me tell you, they're fun. I also love to look behind the scenes at the people who worked on them, and finding out cool facts, more information about the production, such as the fact that between the 2 games, the main voice actor changed. Originally voiced by Chelsea LeCompte, Blurgreen Osako replaced her, and during the time crunch, literal week, the dev team had little time to find a specific voice actor, but since they had more time now, they sought to hire a black voice actress to lead the role, as she was a better fit for it. Though keen ears can still hear Chelsea LeCompte within the rebooted game.
I believe I was found via my Twitter account, so word of advice, keep your Twitter active and have your demo reels easily accessible on your social media pages, because casting directors are out there looking for you, okay?
During development, DreadXP posted developer diaries from some of the people working on it, talking about the game, such as Reese Lemon. He describes that the look of the show was inspired by Dora the Explorer, the Donkey Kong Country show, and Maggie and the Ferocious Beast, and despite rigs being more detailed within the game, the animations are purposely made bad to not only give an uncanny feeling to the characters, but that's kind of how shows were back then. Back in the day, CGI was not only a lot more expensive, it was also time consuming and very hard to work on these old PC programs, especially for TV shows. Like, literally, it was a new frontier. So for the people saying the game's graphics look bad within Amanda's world, that is correct. The Master of Polygons confirms this is on purpose.
Amanda the Adventurer is a show animated in the 90s. CGI back then was awful. That quality can add to the unsettling atmosphere. It's nice.
James Pratt would be in another video diary addressing the fans of the game, and talks about the cut content such as the rewind button. To push the VHS tape concept further, they want to implement a way to rewind. You know, rewinding the tape and trying something else? But an issue they encountered was figuring out a way to make it easy to figure out in the puzzles. I'm sure with enough time they could have made it work, but with the time that they had, it was better to have scrapped it. Another retooling was that of Bladbot, as originally it was going to be a walkie-talkie. However, there was a big fear regarding the implementation of this device. What if someone left it somewhere and forgot where they put it? A very common trope for puzzle games where you pick up things, especially in a 3D space. This leads to a lot of unnecessary backtracking, frustrating the player. The cipher on the fridge is also going to be more in-depth. However, wanting to localize the game in a few languages, 13, creating a perfect alphabetical cipher required a lot more time and money. However, if fans able to decipher the cipher without it, it was best to have been cut out. Such as the hint tape within the game files that adds no details to the story whatsoever. This is Her of the Mouth, which shows Wooly in an empty room for almost 10 minutes. Quality content. Maybe this is like the green room in the game, and he's just waiting for Amanda. But the thing is, the only way to find this tape is word of mouth. Get it? With a lot of unadded content, it's amazing how much they packed into the game as is. Especially for one that's only $8.99. Something that Wooly announced on social media.
$8.99.
And the Twitter account was a nice rundown of the game's promotional timeline. Everything from content creators able to fill out a forum to get the game early, general behind the scenes stuff, to even Wooly saying,
"And I'm here to tell you kids, pee pee poo poo. That's it."
And since James is the voice actor for Wooly, it makes it a lot easier in communication to do the promotion. You know, just getting the microphone recording, to see not only the Twitter accounts, but also the game dev diaries. We're in an age of gaming that is the most documented. Not only in art of books, but the people behind it are able to show more of the game on social media than any time before. This causes what was once a closed industry to be more human. James is quoted as saying, "To get a bit personal, the jam entry of Amanda the Adventurer was sort of my Hail Mary. I just lost my job at a game company I worked at for 2 years and was feeling incredibly unsure of myself. I had a really bad imposter syndrome and wasn't sure I belonged in the game industry at all. I wanted to participate in the jam to remind myself why I'm doing this, because I love making games. And if I wasn't working, I could at least improve. It can be tough on your mental health for sure, and getting in can feel impossible. With that said, I don't want to try and give some magic sauce solution to breaking in the industry, because there really isn't. The hard truth of it is that you can do all the right things and still come up short. While everyone on the team is incredibly talented, I would be lying if I said we weren't insanely lucky. With that said, I guess my advice would be to keep pushing yourself. I know it's corny, and maybe people heard it a million times, but it's true. I had a lot of opportunities come up by pure luck, and you want to be ready for them when they do. When we first made Amanda, we thought like 3 people would play it. Sometimes things just click, but you can't just expect that, because you'll end up unfulfilled. Enjoy the process, and not the destination." But circling back to the game itself, and focusing on the core mechanics like puzzle work and short story, the game avoids what happens if an FNAF security breach. You know, feeling bloated, yet somehow empty, walking around. In more tightly curated experiences, you get something more satisfying, conclusive, and even more fondly remembered. The opposite can be said for Guards in the Banban. But to summarize, and not go into too much detail in this video, Guards in the Banban is a franchise that needed more time in the oven. From unoptimized assets to an ever-changing story, and even rushing out the sequels as fast as possible. I can say that video games like Amanda the Adventurer will last longer than memories of the public eye. There is a difference in making out of necessity and out of passion. Something I learned from the book Starting Point from Hayao Miyazaki. Though in that book he's more talking about the animations he's worked on, appreciates, but it could still be applied here. James is quoted as saying, "I had zero leadership experience whatsoever going into this, so it was a bit of a whiplash for sure. I actually contacted my project lead from Hit Grab Games and asked him for advice. Honestly though, I'm thankful we have such a small team. Not only is it easier to get a hold of people and have meetings, but it also means everyone has a voice and say what goes into the game and how the team operates, which is awesome. In my opinion, it helps everyone maintain a consistent vision, which I think for a game like Amanda is uber crucial. I'm very grateful to be working with the talent that I am, and I'll be the first to tell you the game would not be what it is now without everyone on the team." Amanda's fanbase inspires others to create, not out of irony, but rather out of appreciation for the content within the game. My friend jakeneutron can attest to this, their animated music video, well, for Amanda. But I wish a lot of people who theorize about said games would look deeper to those who actually worked on it. MatPat's video on the subject only points to one person for some reason, like he shows all the game devs and says, "This person specifically did this." Unlike game devs like Scott Cawthon and Toby Fox, there often isn't just 1 or 2 auteurs creating, but rather a team. From the same book I mentioned before, Miyazaki describes the type of mecha anime he dislikes. Those who have a pilot of a giant mecha, who fights the battle and takes all the credits, despite not making the machine himself. As although there's one person piloting it or starting off with the creation, there's a lot of people behind the production that really makes the mecha go kablamo. With the team expanding from James, Reese, Michael, Patrick, and Chelsea to an even larger amount of people, I'm unsure how the game would have turned out if not for the combined efforts. Especially for Melissa Martina, who helped write the lore, scripts, and in-game documents. Oh, and she also directed the voice performances, procured and directed live action segments, and wow, damn, more people need to hire her.
And if I can expand on that more, Melissa was in charge of directing myself and James, and she was phenomenal in guiding us, and just her being there while recording helped me in so many scenes, you know, like I knew what she wanted right away, and she helped me make these great choices and helped bring out so much of my performance in voicing Amanda. So thank you, Melissa. You're like one of the best directors I've had. You know, not the only one, but one of the many great voice directors I've had.
James is quoted as saying, "Melissa and Chris were a godsend. Dred was the one who got us in contact with them, and they really took the concept and rolled with it. Melissa was in charge of the episode plots and overall lore in the game, while Chris handled the live action secret tapes. Melissa also managed voice direction for me and Blair. I remember contacting Melissa and she was already hooked and workshopping ideas for a narrative. She came up with a lore bible that set out to set up characters, plot points, motives, and basically everything. I think having her on was the best move. None of us have any writing or narrative experience, and she was the perfect pick to help bring the world of Amanda to life." I suppose this leads into finding out who actually made the game. Outside the itch.io page, there isn't a direct website for the group Mangled Games. Not even the DreadXP website has a section for Amanda, though it does have some press releases. You can see some of the people who worked on the game in the Twitter following from the Amanda account. But for all the attention the games got from streamers and Let's Players, due to the unease of access to information, a lot of the praise didn't get trickled down to those who actually worked on it. If not for my research, I really want to have known about some of the people behind the game. For content creators starting out, I always tell them to secure a username no one else has, games, getting at least the email, Twitter, YouTube, and Discord app, as well as making sure everything is linked together somehow. And for game devs, this is pretty similar. To have the official channel, Twitter, and Discord app, you can curb counterfeits by including the official links as a section within the game. And a lot of modern games do this. Perhaps another tape can be added on the main screen titled Socials, so when you click on it, you can see the website or socials for the people who worked on it. I mean, it's way better than relying on random news updates from YouTubers or streamers. Like, right now, if you search up Amanda the Adventure on Google, it claims the game runs on Android. It doesn't. And for some reason, John Port Games is on the publishing team. He's not. He just stole the game from their itch.io page and put it on Google. Fuck him. Also, JPEG Game Design and Arcadium are the people who worked on the game. DreadXP is the official publisher. With indie games like this, it's harder for teams to get information out about who actually made what. Luckily for the team, they did get a sizable following for the game's shorter count. At the very least, they can curb some of this information. Regardless, I'm glad that games like Amanda the Adventure exist, as it shows that indie games are more than a shallow way of getting cash from streamer jump scares. Oh, you can tell horrifying experiences, limited resources, and if curated right, you have a game that provides not only endless hours of contemplation, but a spot in the hearts for gamers for many years to come. James is quoted as saying, "We've already incorporated. Yes, at first, we weren't sure what we wanted to do as a team, since everything was so sudden, and some of us were set on the one game and bouncing. But after Amanda launched, we knew we wanted to keep making weird and bizarre games that we want to see out there. I won't divulge too much into our plans going forward, but I'm really looking forward to how people react to the stuff we have planned." Hey, thanks for watching, and special thank you to jakeneutron for being in the video. Also, don't forget to support me on everything. Literally, everything. My Twitters, YouTube channels, and even Patreon. You can also go check out my podcast, Assault as JJ. It's animated. Wowee.
We're moving now,
Oh
bitch.
shit, we're
Look at this.
moving. Look at this. Until next time, keep on drawing, and don't forget to have fantastic.
Everybody